All right, in this second part of our CSS Circles video, we're gonna get inside our code editors and start making those circles. Let's get to it. All right, I'm in my sketch file. I just want to visualize what I'm going to be building beforehand. I have a Jumbotron headline. Hi, I'm Johnny, and I am a designer, developer, maker of businesses and awesome things. As we see here, it looks like we have a font size of 32 points in the text, but we're decreasing the size of that text in order to accommodate the bounding box of the circle. Now that's unacceptable. I mean, we shouldn't have to fiddle around with font sizes in order for us to neatly contain text within a circle. So let's find out how we can do that and create a foolproof way of making circles. So really quickly, I have a wrapper, max width of 24 em, so I can neatly contain all this content within that maximum width. And the real important stuff is in the circle wrapper. I have a display flex so that all of this stuff underneath it would be neatly laid out across an axis. In this case, I want it to be laid out across this main axis. So I'm using the following flexbox properties. And now is where I want to play with these circles. Now, to the innocent CSS beginner, just as I was, and I still considered myself to be a beginner in many ways, you would think that a circle, in this case the circle unit, is a box with a width and a height. So let's do a width, and let's give it a height. And let's give it a border radius of 100%. And let's take a look at how this circle looks like now. So, pretty small. It's not containing the text. The text is pretty big. It's not fitting inside that circle. So let's play around. Let's give it 70. It looks like it needs more width and height. Okay, that's better, but not good enough. So let's do 90. Okay, all right, we're going there. We're working. We're getting there. Maybe 100. So you know what we're doing? We're guesstimating. And that was a problem that we discovered in the first video. Feel free to check that out. But a brief recap of why this isn't a good approach. We're guesstimating. We're just picking numbers out of thin air. That's not the way to do that. What we need to do is leverage the power of pseudo-elements. Essentially, what a pseudo-element will do is it will allow for us to create an object or an element that is viewable, that is renderable, that you can see it. It's visible to the human eye, but it's not really visible to the DOM in the browser. So essentially what the browser is saying is saying, okay, I know you're a pseudo-element. I'm not going to register you into my database or my memory so that JavaScript can play with it. I'm just going to put it in there so that humans can see the content inside. So I don't know if you've seen maybe a box perhaps with a text that says click me and a nice little happy face, a nice happy emoticon. That emoticon is more likely than not a pseudo-element. It's not really meant to be interactive with JavaScript. It's not meant to be recorded in the browser's DOM, but it's just for viewing purposes so that we can see the content. Cool. So we have the circle unit. Now what I want to do is I want to play with this after element, that pseudo-element. And I'm going to give it a content of empty for now. And I want to take a look at how this is coming along. I'm going to give it a background color, let's say orange. Okay, nothing visible yet. That's fine. I want to give it a display of block. And what the display block does is it gives us that nice height and width attribute so that we can create a rectangular context, like a box for us to work with, right? And I'm going to give it a height of 100%. Not working. I don't see an orange square. This height of 100%. Well, that's a problem because it's 100% of what? We're not giving this circle unit a height. If I gave the circle unit a height of, let's say, 150 pixels, now we can give it 100% of that height. But we're not going to do that. We shouldn't be playing around with numbers like 150 pixels because we'd be guesstimating height values. We don't want to do that. We want something more foolproof. So instead of working with height, we can still give it a rectangular context by giving it a padding top or padding bottom of 100%. Now we're talking. Okay, look at all that. Padding top is essentially the same thing. What we're doing is we're creating space so that I can fill this entire display of block. So let's say I give it 70, 50, or 60, 30, right? It's getting smaller. But now I'm going to give it a padding top of 100%. This is what I have. Now, the circle unit is all of this here from the top of the word developer to the bottom of that base here. So let's give it a color of blue to see what we have. So you see that blue on the top and that orange on the bottom? All of this is the circle unit. Now the question is, how do we get this developer word in the middle here? How do we get designer in the middle? How do we get all this here, this entire phrase in the middle of that box? Well, we're going to have to maybe use flexbox. Maybe take that text, right, and just flex it in the middle here. But we can't do that because we already gave this a display of block. We're going to have to make up our mind. Do we want it to be block or flex? We can't really put two display values. So one way of solving this problem is to create a new element, work with a circle inner here, work with this new element here, and absolutely position that on top of circle unit. So if we're going to put it on top of circle unit, we're going to have to make this relative, and circle inner has to be positioned absolute and relative to this circle unit parent. Remember, absolutely positioned elements need a context by which to be positioned, and that position is normally the parent, in this case circle unit. So we're giving it a position absolute. We want to give it a height of 100% and a width of 100%, and I'll explain these values in a bit. And let's give it a background color of green for now. But everything's collapsed. What happened here? Uh-oh, this doesn't look too good. Well, that's because we gave it a display of flex. So let's take a look at all this wrapper here, right? Everything's collapsed. It's awful. But we need to give these circle unit values a width value or flex basis. Let's give it some width. And let's give it a width of 33.33%. There we go. Now we're talking. And let's space this out a little bit. Let's space these out a margin of 1em. Now we're talking. See what we did here? We took circle inner and we absolutely positioned to the top of circle unit. Let's prove that. I gave it a height of 100%. Let's give it a height of 70. Oh, you see now? Let's give it 40. Let's give it 10. So I want to lay out, so this green is circle inner. I want it to span the entire height of circle unit. So let's do 100%. What about width? Let's give it a 50%. You see how it's not spanning it the full width? But if we do 100, it spans the full width. And it's positioned absolute, smack on top of circle unit, which is the parent. Now what this does for us, it allows for us to lay out this text in the middle just like we want. And in order for us to do that, we can now give this new box a display of flex and do a justify content of center. Oh, you see how that moved nicely to the center of that main axis, but we want it also to be centered on the vertical. So let's do an align items. Center. Cool. Now we're talking. And now what I want to do with maker of all this text here, I want it to be center aligned. So I can work with this circle description here and do a text align center. Cool. There we go. And last but not least, we know that there is a green box. Beneath that green box, there is a orange box. Let's visualize that. border radius of 100%. Boom, there's our circle. No need to fiddle around with font sizes. And actually, let me do, let's make this a color of white so that we can see the text better. There we go. No need to play with font sizes. No need to, fiddle around with that. No need to guesstimate. This is exactly what we wanted. And it's responsive, because if I want it, it's nice and flexible. And if I wanted to make it fully responsive, well, let's explore that in the next video to see how we can stack those circles on top of each other. Like this, actually. Let me give you a sneak peek, actually. Flex direction, column. Oh, uh-oh. Well, there's an issue. We're going to explore that in the next video. Awesome. All right, so we know how to make circles using flexbox and using all these cool pseudo elements. If you have any questions, please leave them below. Always here to help. All right, keep hacking and keep on crafting. Have a good one.